The deep-sea research facility shook again. He-Jin Park grabbed his desk to stay steady. This was the third tremor in the last hour. Through the thick glass windows of the underwater station, he could see strange lights in the dark water above. They weren't like any sea creatures he had studied in his years as a marine biologist. "Something's wrong," he said to himself, checking the facility's warning systems on his computer screen. All the readings were normal, but his gut feeling told him otherwise. At age 28, He-Jin had learned to trust his instincts about the ocean's behavior. The radio on his desk crackled. "He-Jin, are you there?" It was Dr. Nam's voice, the facility director. She sounded worried. "Yes, Dr. Nam. I'm in Lab 3. He-Jin answered, pressing the talk button. "Turn on the news feed. Now." He-Jin clicked on his screen's news channel. His eyes grew wide. The headline read, "Alien ships entering Earth's atmosphere. This is not a drill." The camera showed massive ships breaking through the clouds above major cities. They were dark and pointed, like arrowheads made of black metal. Each one was bigger than the tallest buildings on Earth. "He-Jin, listen carefully." Dr. Nam's voice came through again. "We're starting emergency protocols. Get everyone from your section to the escape pods. The military says these ships have appeared at every major research facility around the world. We might be a target." Before He-Jin could answer, another shake hit the facility. This time it was different, stronger and more focused. The lights flickered, and red emergency lights came on. "Warning. Hull breach detected in Section A." The computer announced in its calm voice, "Emergency doors closing." He-Jin ran to the corridor. "Everyone out," he shouted to the other scientists in nearby labs. "Move to the escape pods." He helped Dr. My-sun, an older researcher, gather her important data tablets. Together, they joined others running through the hallways. Through the facility's upper windows, He-Jin saw something that made his blood run cold. A smaller alien ship had positioned itself directly above their station. It was sending down what looked like a beam of purple light. "They're cutting through the outer shell," someone shouted from the monitoring room. Water alarms started blaring. The facility's automatic systems began sealing off sections to prevent flooding. He-Jin led his group toward Escape Pod Bay 2, the closest one to their position. That's when he first saw her. Through the reinforced glass ceiling of the main hall, a figure dropped down with incredible grace. She wore armor that seemed to shift colors like the deep sea itself. More figures followed her, all wearing similar armor, but not as elaborate as hers. The alien woman, He-Jin could tell she was female from her build, stood tall and proud. Her helmet retracted like liquid metal, revealing a face that looked surprisingly human, except for the faint blue patterns that seemed to glow under her skin. Her black hair was tied back severely, and her eyes were a striking silver color that seemed to pierce through everything they looked at. "Secure the facility," she commanded in perfect Korean, her voice cold and clear. "No survivors." Her soldiers spread out efficiently. He-Jin pushed Dr. My-sun behind a large storage container. They watched in horror as the alien soldiers began their work. They weren't killing people right away. They were sorting them. The alien commander walked among the captured humans, looking at each one carefully. Sometimes she would nod, and those people would be taken away. Others, He-Jin closed his eyes when he heard the sounds that followed her head shakes. "She's heading this way," Dr. My-sun whispered, trembling. He-Jin looked around desperately. The escape pod bay was just 30 meters away, through the emergency doors that were still open. He made a quick decision. "Dr. My-sun, when I say run, go straight to the pod. I'll distract them." He-Jin, "No." But he was already moving. He grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and sprayed it in a wide arc, creating a cloud of white powder. "Run," he shouted. Dr. My-sun darted toward the escape pod bay while He-Jin sprayed the extinguisher at the approaching aliens. The commander turned toward him, her silver eyes cutting through the chemical fog. He-Jin threw the empty extinguisher at her soldiers and ran the opposite way from Dr. My Son. He heard the commander bark orders, and footsteps followed him. He ran through the labs he knew so well, knocking over chairs and equipment to slow his pursuers. The facility shook again. Through the windows, he could see water starting to pour in from somewhere above. He needed to get to the secondary escape pod bay on the other side. He-Jin rounded a corner and found himself in the specimen storage room. Large tanks of sea life lined the walls, their emergency power keeping the creatures alive. He rushed to the control panel and started releasing the specimens into the facility's corridors. Octopi, sharks, and schools of fish flooded out, causing confusion among the pursuing soldiers. But the commander wasn't fooled. She walked straight through the chaos, her armor repelling the water and creatures alike. The Jin backed away until he hit the wall. There was nowhere else to run. The commander raised her hand, and her soldiers surrounded him. He-Jin noticed something then. A small logo on her armor, near her shoulder. It showed a star being split in half. He recognized it from the news feeds. This was Commander Yunki, the most feared leader in the alien fleet. She was known for leaving no survivors. "You caused all this trouble," she said, her voice oddly quiet. "Why?" He-Jin stood straight, trying to keep his fear from showing. "To give others a chance to escape. You risked your life for them." Her silver eyes studied him carefully. "Yes, even though you knew you would likely die. Someone has to try to save lives," He-Jin answered, "even if it seems hopeless." Commander Yunki tilted her head slightly. She looked at the tanks around them, then back at He-Jin. "You study ocean life?" "Yes, I'm a marine biologist." She stepped closer, and He-Jin could see his reflection in her silver eyes. "Tell me," she said, "why do you care so much about saving these simple creatures?" He-Jin glanced at the remaining fish in the tanks. "Because every life has value. Every species has its place in the greater system. Remove one, and you damage all the others in ways we might not understand until it's too late." The commander was silent for a long moment. Water was ankle-deep now, swirling around their feet. The facility groaned as more pressure built up from the breach. "Commander," one of her soldiers spoke up, "the facility's structural integrity is failing. We must leave." Commander Yunki kept her eyes on He-Jin. Then she did something that made her soldiers step back in surprise. She smiled. It was a small thing, barely visible, but it changed her whole face. "Take him," she ordered. "Commander." The soldiers sounded confused. "But the standard protocol." "I said take him." Her voice was sharp enough to cut steel. "Prepare him for transport to the ship." Two soldiers grabbed He-Jin's arms. He didn't resist, too shocked to move. Commander Yunki turned away, her helmet reforming around her head. "Commander," He-Jin called out. "There are others still hiding. Please, let them reach the escape pods." She paused but didn't turn around. For a moment, He-Jin thought she would ignore him. Then she spoke into her communicator. "All units pull back to the surface. We have what we came for." As they led him away, He-Jin saw groups of humans running for the escape pods through distant corridors. The aliens weren't pursuing them anymore. He had no idea why Commander Yunki had spared him, or them, but he felt a small spark of hope. Maybe there was more to these invaders than everyone thought. They took him up through their entry point, the alien technology creating a dry tunnel through the ocean. He-Jin watched his research facility collapse behind them, but he saw several escape pods shooting up toward the surface. At least some had survived. Inside the alien ship, everything was sleek and curved, like waves frozen in metal. The soldiers led him to a small room with a single window. Through it, he could see the Earth below, partly covered by the massive alien ships. "The commander will speak with you later," one soldier said before they left him alone. He-Jin sat on the room's single bench, his wet clothes dripping on the smooth floor. His mind raced with questions. Why had Commander Yunki spared him? Why had she ordered her troops to let others escape? Every report about her told of complete destruction, no mercy, no survivors. What made this time different? He looked out the window again. Somewhere down there, Dr. My Son and others were hopefully reaching safety. He-Jin smiled slightly. Even if he died here, he had helped save lives. That was something. The room hummed as the ship moved higher into Earth's atmosphere. He-Jin Park, marine biologist, now prisoner of the most feared alien commander in Earth's space, watched his home grow smaller below. He had no idea what would happen next, but he had seen something no one else had. A moment of mercy from the unmerciful Commander Yunki. He just wished he knew why. The facility's last bubbles reached the ocean's surface as the alien fleet prepared to continue their invasion of Earth. But in one small room on one massive ship, a human sat wondering about the surprising complexity of their invaders and about a pair of silver eyes that had looked at him with something other than hatred. This was just the beginning. 7 days had passed since He-Jin's capture. His small room on the alien ship had become both his prison and his observation post. Through the large window, he watched Earth grow smaller as the fleet moved through space. The view still took his breath away, even after a week. The room itself was simple but comfortable. They had given him clean clothes that felt like silk, but never got dirty. The bed adjusted to his body perfectly, and food appeared twice a day through a slot in the wall. It wasn't bad. It tasted like mild fish soup with rice, though he wasn't sure if that's what it really was. He-Jin spent most of his time watching the crew through his room's clear door. The aliens moved with perfect order, like fish in a school. They looked almost human, except for the glowing patterns under their skin and their silver eyes. None of them spoke to him, but they watched him with curiosity when they passed. Every morning, Commander Yunki walked by his room. She never looked in, but He-Jin noticed how others acted around her. They feared her, yet there was something else in their quick glances. Respect, maybe even pride. On the 8th day, everything changed. He-Jin woke to the sound of his door sliding open. 2 guards stood there with Commander Yunki. "Come with me," she said simply. They walked through corridors that curved like ocean waves. He-Jin noticed that smaller ships were docked inside this massive one, like smaller fish living inside a whale. They entered a large room with windows all around. It was some kind of command center. "Watch," Commander Yunki ordered, pointing to a large screen. The screen showed another human facility, this one on land. It looked like a research center. Alien ships surrounded it. "This is happening now," she explained. The humans inside refused to surrender. He-Jin watched as alien soldiers moved in. But something was strange. Before they attacked, he saw small groups of people running away from the back of the building. The aliens seemed to ignore them. "You're letting them escape," he said quietly. Commander Yunki's face stayed neutral. "What you see is a military operation, nothing more." But He-Jin had spent a week studying these aliens. He saw how the soldiers deliberately moved slowly at certain points, giving humans time to run. They made noise before entering buildings, like they were giving warnings. The commander turned to her crew. "Clear the room," she ordered. Everyone left quickly, leaving He-Jin alone with her. "You have questions," she said. It wasn't a question. "Why did you spare me?" He-Jin asked. "Why are you letting some people escape?" Commander Yunki walked to the window, looking out at the stars. "Tell me about the ocean animals you studied," she said instead of answering. He-Jin was confused but answered. "I studied how different species work together, how they help each other survive, even when they seem like enemies. Like cleaner fish with sharks," she said, surprising him. "Yes, exactly. Small fish clean parasites from sharks' teeth. The sharks could eat them, but they don't. They understand the value of working together." He-Jin paused. "How do you know about cleaner fish?" A small smile touched her lips. "We have been watching Earth for a long time. Your oceans interest us most. They are like our home world was before." She stopped talking, her face becoming hard again. "You will work here," she said suddenly. "Your knowledge of Earth's oceans might be useful. You will help identify important research centers near or under the water." "To help you destroy them?" He Jin asked. "To help us complete our mission," she replied coldly. But He Jin saw something in her eyes, a flash of sadness. A loud alarm suddenly filled the room. Red lights flashed. "Commander!" A soldier ran in. "We found them." A group of resistance fighters hiding in the Arctic research base. Commander Yunqi's face changed completely. She became the cold leader everyone feared. "Prepare my ship," she ordered. "I will lead this attack myself." The soldier left quickly. The commander turned to He Jin. "You will come too. I want you to see what happens to those who truly resist us." During the flight to the Arctic base, He Jin sat quietly in the back of the commander's personal ship. He watched her give orders, her voice sharp and cruel. But he also watched her hands. They were tight on the controls, like she was forcing herself to stay strong. The Arctic base came into view. It was built into an ice cliff, half hidden by snow. He Jin could see people moving inside through the clear walls. "Commander," the soldier reported, "we count 37 humans inside. They are armed." "Begin the attack," Commander Yunqi ordered. Her voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. But then she pressed some buttons quietly, and He Jin saw something interesting on the screen. A small passage at the back of the base, not on the main plans. A way out. The attack began. It was loud and bright, with weapons firing and explosions all around. But He Jin watched carefully. The aliens never fired at the back passage, and when he checked the life signs scanner, he saw small groups of dots moving away from the base through the snow. After it was over, Commander Yunqi stood in the destroyed base. "Report," she demanded. "We found 21 bodies, Commander," a soldier said. "No survivors." But He Jin knew better. He had counted the dots on the scanner. 16 people had escaped through the snow. The commander had made it look like a complete victory, while letting almost half the humans escape. Back on the main ship, Commander Yunqi ordered He Jin to follow her to a small private room. "You saw everything today," she said. "What did you learn?" He Jin thought carefully before answering. "I learned that things are not always what they seem. Like in the ocean, some animals pretend to be dangerous to survive, while others pretend to be harmless when they're really deadly." She looked at him for a long time. "Dangerous knowledge," she said finally. "Knowledge that could get someone killed. Or knowledge that could help save lives," He Jin replied quietly. Commander Yunqi turned away, but not before He Jin saw something change in her expression. "Return to your room," she ordered. "Tomorrow, you begin working with our science team. Do not make me regret keeping you alive." That night, He Jin lay in his bed, thinking about everything he had seen. Commander Yunqi was playing a dangerous game. She appeared cruel and merciless to keep her position, but she was secretly saving as many lives as she could. One question remained. Why? He remembered how she had asked about the ocean, about animals working together to survive. Maybe there was more to this invasion than anyone knew. Maybe, like in the deep ocean, things looked different once you got past the surface. He Jin smiled in the darkness. He wasn't just a prisoner anymore. He was becoming something else, a witness to a mystery that could change everything. He just had to be patient, watch, and learn, just like he did with his ocean creatures. Above Earth, the alien fleet continued its invasion. But in one room on one ship, a human scientist was beginning to understand that this war might not be as simple as everyone thought. And a commander who was supposed to be heartless might be fighting a battle no one else could see. A month had passed since He Jin began working with the alien science team. He helped them map Earth's oceans and understand marine research facilities. Each time they attacked a facility, he noticed the same pattern. Commander Yunqi would make a great show of destruction, but people always managed to escape. Today was different. The commander hadn't come to the science room all day. He-Jin heard worried whispers among the crew. "Where is Commander Yun-Ki?" he asked Do-hyun, a young alien scientist who had become friendly with him. Do-hyun looked around nervously before answering. There was a battle near the moon base. The commander was injured. He-Jin felt his heart skip a beat. How badly? She refuses medical help. She's in her private quarters. Do-hyun hesitated. She trusts you in her way. Maybe you could talk to her. He-Jin was surprised. She trusts me. You're the only one she lets watch her attacks. And you're still alive. Do-hyun smiled slightly. That means something. 2 guards took He-Jin to the commander's quarters. The room was large but simple, with one wall showing a view of Earth. Commander Yun-Ki sat in a chair, holding her side. Her face was pale, making the blue patterns under her skin glow brighter. "Why are you here?" she asked, her voice weak. "You're hurt," He-Jin said simply. "Let me help." She laughed, then winced in pain. A human offering to help the monster who invaded his world. "You're not a monster." He-Jin moved closer. "I've watched you save people while pretending to destroy them. I've seen you warn civilians before attacks. A monster wouldn't do that." Commander Yun-Ki stared at him for a long moment. Then she pressed a button on her desk. The doors locked, and the room's windows turned dark. "Help me with this," she said, trying to remove her armor. He-Jin helped her carefully. Under the armor, a deep wound crossed her side. The injury glowed with a strange blue light. "There's a medical kit in that drawer," she said, pointing. As He-Jin treated her wound, she spoke quietly. "Our leaders don't want Earth destroyed. They'd want it emptied. They believe humans are dangerous, that you'll spread through space and bring chaos to other worlds. But you don't believe that." She shook her head. "I studied Earth's oceans too. I saw how life forms there learn to work together. Predator and prey finding balance. Different species helping each other survive. I thought, if ocean life can find harmony, why not different worlds? That's why you save people when you can," He-Jin realized. "You're trying to prove humans can cooperate with others. There's more." Commander Yun-Ki grimaced as He-Jin bandaged her wound. "Many of us disagree with this war. We have a network, working secretly to save as many humans as we can. We hide them in safe places, help them build new homes where our leaders won't find them." He-Jin sat back, amazed. "That's why you kept me alive. You wanted me to see the truth. I needed someone who understood balance in nature. Someone who could see past fear to the possibility of cooperation." She looked at him with her silver eyes. "Like those cleaner fish you told me about. Small creatures brave enough to swim into a shark's mouth, trusting that working together is better than fighting." Suddenly, alarms blared through the ship. Red lights flashed. "Commander," a voice called through the intercom. "Earth forces are attacking. They've developed new weapons that can penetrate our shields." Commander Yun-Ki tried to stand but fell back in pain. "I have to get to the bridge," she said. "You can't fight like this," He-Jin protested. "If I don't, they'll send someone else, someone who won't give humans a chance to escape." She looked at him desperately. "Help me get to the bridge, please." He-Jin understood. He helped her put her armor back on, hiding her injury. Together, they'd made their way to the bridge. The scene there was chaos. Earth ships were attacking from all sides. Their new weapons cut through alien defenses like they were paper. "Status report," Commander Yun-Ki ordered, standing straight despite her pain. 5 ships lost already," an officer reported. "Our weapons can't lock onto their new stealth technology." He-Jin watched the battle on the screens. Something looked familiar about how the Earth ships moved. "They're using ocean hunting tactics," he said suddenly. "Like how dolphins hunt in pods or how sharks herd fish into traps." Commander Yun-Ki looked at him sharply. "Explain." He-Jin pointed to the screens. "See how they move in circles? They're not just attacking, they're creating confusion. Like how dolphins make fish panic and bunch together. Then, he pointed to a larger ship moving in. That one will strike, like a shark through a school of fish. Can we counter it? In the ocean, some fish escape by breaking the pattern. They swim in unexpected ways, create chaos in the chaos. Commander Yunki turned to her crew. Break formation. Random movements. No patterns. Confuse their targeting systems. The strategy worked. Earth's ships lost their advantage when they couldn't predict where the alien vessels would move. The battle ended in a draw, with both sides pulling back to regroup. In the quiet afterward, Commander Yunki sat heavily in her chair. Her wound had reopened, staining her armor from inside. "Get him back to his quarters," she ordered the guards. But as they led He-Jin away, she spoke again. "Thank you for understanding about balance." That night, He-Jin couldn't sleep. His mind was full of new information. The feared Commander Yunki was actually leading the secret resistance. She was trying to save humanity while keeping her true mission hidden. She had chosen him because he understood the delicate balance of life, the importance of cooperation over conflict. He thought about the ocean, about tiny fish swimming bravely into the mouths of sharks, about different species learning to help each other survive, about finding harmony in the most unlikely places. Tomorrow would bring new battles, new challenges. But now, He-Jin understood his role in this war. Like those brave little fish, he would swim into dangerous waters. He would help build a bridge between two worlds, using what he knew about life's endless ability to find balance. Outside his window, Earth glowed blue and beautiful, like a pearl in the darkness of space. Somewhere on that planet, people were fighting for survival. But here, in an alien ship, a human and a commander were proving that different species could work together, could find mercy in the midst of war. The truth had finally emerged, like a deep-sea creature rising to the light. Now the real work could begin. 3 days after the battle, He-Jin sat in the science room, looking at maps of Earth's oceans. But his mind was elsewhere. He worried about Commander Yunki's wound and thought about everything she had told him. The door slid open, interrupting his thoughts. "The High Command knows," Do-hyun said quickly, rushing into the room. Someone reported Commander Yunki's secret activities. "They're coming to arrest her." He-Jin jumped up. "Where is she?" "In the command center. They're sending a high command ship to take control of our fleet." Do-hyun looked scared. "They'll kill her for treason. And anyone who helped her." He-Jin ran through the corridors, his heart pounding. When he reached the command center, he found Commander Yunki standing calmly, watching a large ship approach through the main window. Her face showed no fear, but He-Jin saw her hands trembling slightly. "You should be in the science room," she said without turning. "They know about the resistance," He-Jin said. "About you helping humans escape." "Yes." She finally looked at him. "You need to leave. Take an escape pod. Return to Earth." "What about you?" Commander Yunki smiled sadly. "I always knew this might happen. At least I proved that humans and our people could work together. You helped me show that." "Then let me help you now," He-Jin said. "You know Earth's oceans better than any other commander. You know how life survives there. Maybe we can use that knowledge." She started to answer, but alarms began blaring. A voice came through the speakers. "Commander Yunki, this is High Commander Taiwan. Your ship is surrounded. Surrender yourself for judgment." He-Jin looked at the screens. 5 large ships had surrounded them, their weapons ready to fire. But something about their formation sparked an idea in his mind. "Commander," he said quickly, "remember what you learned about ocean life, about how small creatures survive among bigger predators." Her silver eyes lit up with understanding. "Like the octopus," she said. "It releases ink to confuse enemies, changes color to hide, and escapes through small spaces its hunters can't follow." He-Jin nodded excitedly, and like schools of fish that split into smaller groups to confuse bigger fish. The predators can't chase all of them. Commander Yunki turned to her crew. Listen carefully. I need volunteers. Those who want to help, stay. Those who don't, leave now. No one will be punished for choosing safety. Some crew members left quickly, but most stayed, including Du Hyun and the science team. They all looked at their commander, ready to help. High Commander, Yunki spoke into the communication system. I request 1 hour to prepare my crew for the transfer of command. You have 30 minutes, Ta Won's voice replied coldly. Commander Yunki turned to her crew. Here's what we'll do. The next 30 minutes were busy with activity. He-jin helped coordinate between different groups, using his knowledge of ocean survival strategies to help plan their escape. Everyone worked quickly and quietly, understanding the importance of their task. When High Commander Ta Won's ship docked with theirs, everything was ready. The High Commander walked onto their bridge with 20 armed guards, his face stern and cold. Commander Yunki, he said, you are charged with treason against the Stellar Empire. Your crime is showing mercy to humans and interfering with the cleansing of Earth. I understand. Commander Yunki replied calmly. Where is your crew? Preparing for your arrival, High Commander. Suddenly, all the lights went out. When they came back on 3 seconds later, chaos erupted. Escape pods shot out from all sides of the ship, each one heading in a different direction. At the same time, the ship's engines released a cloud of special particles that He-jin had helped create, based on how octopi release ink. The high command ships couldn't tell which escape pods held the real commander and which were decoys. They couldn't fire at all of them without risking killing their own high commander, who was still on the bridge. Stop them, Ta Won shouted. But it was too late. While the high command ships chased escape pods, the real escape happened differently. A small maintenance ship, painted to look like space debris, quietly drifted away from the back of the command ship. Inside were Commander Yunkai, He-jin, Du Hyun, and key members of the resistance. Like a tiny fish hiding in empty shells, He-jin said, smiling at Commander Yunki as they watched the confusion behind them. The high command will be busy for hours chasing empty pods, she said. By then, we'll be hidden somewhere they'll never think to look. Where are we going? To the deepest research station in Earth's oceans, she answered. Your old home. The high command thinks it was destroyed, but we saved it. It's now a sanctuary for humans and aliens who want peace. Many of the people we helped escape are there. He-jin felt joy fill his heart. My old facility. It survived. We rebuilt it secretly. Better than before. It's perfect. The deep ocean is like space, and we've learned to live there together, humans and aliens, finding balance like the sea creatures you study. As their small ship headed toward Earth, He-jin thought about his journey. He had started as a prisoner, become a witness, and now was part of something amazing. A movement to bring two species together in peace. Commander, he said, when you first captured me, why did you really show mercy? Commander Yunki touched the wound in her side, now nearly healed. I saw you risk your life to save others. You showed the same courage as the resistance members I work with. I needed someone who understood that life finds ways to work together, even in the harshest conditions. She smiled. Also, I needed an expert on Earth's oceans. I knew that's where we would eventually hide. The maintenance ship entered Earth's atmosphere, heading for the deep ocean. Behind them, high command ships still searched space for empty escape pods. Below them, a hidden sanctuary waited, where humans and aliens lived and worked together in secret. He-jin looked at Commander Yunki and saw not the feared leader everyone talked about, but someone who had risked everything to prove that different species could find harmony. Like the ocean creatures he had studied all his life, they had found a way to help each other survive. Ready to go home? Commander Yunki asked. Yes, He-jin answered, watching the ocean grow larger in their window. To our new home. The ship descended toward the waves, carrying its precious cargo of hope for both species. Deep below, In the darkness of the ocean, a light of peace was growing stronger every day. And it had all started with one moment of mercy, given by someone everyone thought was unmerciful. Sometimes, He Jin thought, the best way to fight darkness was not with more darkness, but with unexpected light, like bioluminescent creatures in the deep sea, showing the way forward in the darkest depths.